Welcome to Revlog, where Bryan didn't get the dress code memo.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Thank you, Pastor.
We thought we were going to bring it up a notch.
Button the top button.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Looking good.
Yeah, thank you.
Bryan always outshines us in that category anyway.
Right.
So, I mean.
Oh, no, I can't.
Even as he's
I can't be like you establishment guys.
That's right.
He's the good-looking one, even when he's slumming it, isn't he? That's.
Yeah, let's just say it, put it out there.
Yeah, we'll just put it out there.
Just get on with the program.
Let's talk about the Bible.
So today we are in Daniel chapter 3. This is the fiery furnace episode. Now, we left this out of our Daniel special. We
did.
never got to a furnace, unfortunately.
We considered early on.
We did. That would have been
foundry.
That would have been a
something.
harder one to reenact,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
So
Anything with fire.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you help us jump into Daniel chapter 3, Bryan? What were your initial reactions to this text?
Well, these three. First of all, Daniel doesn't appear in this story.
No,
he's
not even mentioned.
Sort of like, no. It's sort of like the episode, where one of the characters is just not there. Sometimes you have those, but it makes me wonder. Wow, what else went on that here's something that Daniel wasn't a part of. It just seems like there were probably a lot of these kinds of things. But these three men, they're not relying on Daniel. I mean, Daniel wasn't fueling
That's a good word.
their spiritual journey.
Because you could make that case through the first couple of chapters that
right.
they depended on Daniel, but here they're not.
He was the head of the resistance.
That's exactly right. But they have a fortitude
right.
that is all their own. That they're standing.
When they
firm
have a
with.
faith that's all their own.
That's right. That's right. And I think that that's a good word because it speaks to the different things that each person brings to this story. It's not just Daniel's story. I mean, the book is called Daniel and so forth, and he's clearly the main person that we're focusing on. But each person brings something of great value for spiritual formation here. But I wonder what in the world, how these men experienced the Lord to grow such faith in their lives. I mean, they are standing firm. It's amazing. I mean, even it's a no matter what kind of faith, right, as they say.
And they've got. I mean, there's no institution that they go to. There's no established protocol for worship that these guys.
That's right. That's all been left behind.
Yeah, whatever they brought in with them is what they're maintaining. Is what's maintaining them, and it is maintaining.
And
them.
it may only be what we hear of Daniel in chapter 6, where Daniel prays 3 times a day towards Jerusalem.
That's right.
And maybe be their experience.
Well, the start of the synagogue system, was in captivity. So maybe there's a seed of that there. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. Aaron, what were your initial reactions?
Well,
here?
we don't have a real accurate timeline as far as chapter 2 to chapter 3, but I look at Nebuchadnezzar and go, what? I mean, we just come out of chapter 2, and
that's true. The timeline seems a little...
Yeah, because he's just elevated Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and he's just, Daniel's interpreted the dream, and he's like, the God of these guys, he's got it figured out. And then one verse later, I'm building a statue to myself. And so there's got to be a little disconnect there as far as timeline goes, but you just think that whatever inkling, I mean, Nebuchadnezzar's a difficult subject matter because you feel like he recognizes but is unwilling to completely commit. And I think there's a big story in that for all of us, that he sees
very true
the work of God, and that's great, and I'm going to acknowledge that, but I'm not ready to really give it all over.
Can you see an administrative official coming to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego saying, Nebuchadnezzar's been on a journey, but I'm about to tell you he's still on a journey here,
right.
So just hold on to your hats because there's
right.
an idol.
Well,
and
you also get this almost Nero-like complex that if
that's true.
We're really grateful we've elevated you, but if you don't bow down, I'm going to rip your arms off. Oh, and then once we recognize that this is the God of all gods, that if you don't follow him, I'm going to rip your arms off.
Yeah.
He must have been a real interesting character to be around. I'm just
He did. He had quite the temper.
it's 0 or 11.
You worship God, I rip your arms off. Wait, you don't worship God, I rip your arms off.
Something like that.
Let's move to questions of the text. Bryan, what question came out of this text for you?
How do I get spiritually formed like those three men?
Right.
I want that. I don't think we can just wake up and say, I'm going to walk in a furnace today.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, certainly the will has to be there, but come on. I mean, we have to expose ourselves to the growth process. We have to put ourselves in the posture in which God can, in which we're available to God for Him to grow us like this.
Yeah.
We can't just wish it to happen.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder how much they grew in that exile, losing their homes, moving forward,
Indeed.
and in that trial, maintaining their faith and how God grew them in those days and through that great trial.
I think it was probably an active process. It wasn't just passively sitting around waiting for some growth to happen. And I certainly Daniel, as you said, he prayed 3 times a day, and these men were probably involved in similar spiritual exercises. But we need to be asking these questions and seeking, how can we grow like this?
Right.
Yeah, amen. Aaron, what question came to mind for you?
It's a tough question. It's what is my expectation of God? Or said it differently, am I looking to get something out of this faith journey? The most compelling verse in this chapter is, even if he doesn't.
That's right.
Right, exactly.
Even if he doesn't. And those guys walked into the furnace without any expectation that God's going to they know he can,
That's right.
but they're like, he's worth following even if he doesn't.
That's right.
And that's not how we typically approach God. It's fire insurance, if you'll pardon the pun, or just the hope of salvation, rather than he's worthy even if we didn't have that. That God he's a worthy of our adoration and praise even if he did nothing else for us. Now, we know the end of the story, that he has given us that eternal security, but one of our favorite choral anthems is My Eternal King, and it's not for the hope of winning heaven or escaping hell, but solely because you are my God and my eternal King. I'm going to worship you. And that approach is what we see in Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These guys are going, he's worth following even if it costs us our life. And
that's right. And I think that as a part of that, God is God because he is life, or he is life because he is God, and anybody that lives with him will live. Now, in this particular circumstance, that doesn't mean you may escape unscathed, but you will live.
That's right.
And
Amen.
that's who God is. And so we know that's part of his worthiness is that he keeps his word in that way.
This is one of the most profound moments of faith in all of
absolutely.
Scripture. We would love to hear your comments on this chapter and this moment of faith in the comments below.